business, you don't necessarily lead from the front. It's often better to lead from the back because then gives you a better perspective of what is happening in the organization. You have to choose to be a pro in one thing, and for you to be a pro in that thing, you actually have to wake up and put time and effort, and you have to be consistent and disciplined. So you have to be rooted in that principle that, you know, whatever you promise, actually, you better undersell and then over-deliver.
Good evening and welcome to the Late Night Business. My name is Ian Dennis, and tonight we have a very interesting show lined up. We're going to be talking about matters business, how exactly matters governance, and the gentleman I'm about to have a conversation with has actually been featured on my book on how exactly to transition from the world of employment to business and how exactly it is that you need to scale up your business. But before I get to reveal my guest, I'd like to let you know that we are here at the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur. At the Capital Club, you not only have access to a very rich network, but you have access to various facilities, including the gym, the spa, meeting rooms, and so much more. The gentleman I'm about to talk to, first of all, refuses the title CEO. He calls himself the cheerleader of his company, Belva Digital. Right now, it's Belva Group that has literally grown over the last 10 years. They're celebrating 10 years. And within the 10 years, they've had very interesting strides, which we're going to be covering during this particular show. Fred, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you.
Big pleasure.
First of all, why do you like calling yourself a cheerleader, not a CEO? I just had to stop there.
Very good question. Leadership has evolved from the old school boss in the corner to being immersed in the day-to-day, being collaborative with the team. So I prefer the cheerleader because it allows me to sit with the team, allows me to understand the expectations, allows me to communicate the vision and the mission, and that has worked well so far.
Interesting. Why you, what's it called? It's very different because I know when you've grown to a particular level, everybody's always caught up in the status quo. I'm the boss, I'm this.
Yes.
But you've always kept this particular demeanor that you're just a regular person, part of the team. Why is that? Is it just your nature, or why is that?
I think probably being a firstborn, you know, you're always a deputy parent. So, well, as much as you're often leading and the expectations of being in charge, but running the show, you also appreciate that, you know, as a business, you don't necessarily lead from the front. It's often better to lead from the back because then gives you a better perspective of what is happening in the organization. But also because we've grown from, you know, one employee, myself, to about 55 in about 10 years. So you have to be really, for you to get there and to understand every facet of the business, you have to immerse in everything. And I prefer probably that demeanor helps because I've done everything. I've been the accountant, I've been the receptionist, I've been the sales guy, I've been the marketer, I've been the tech guy. Because when you're starting somewhere, obviously, you're lean, you're bootstrapping, you have to understand all these roles that you're playing in the organization. So as you hire, you also have clear expectations of what these people are coming in to deliver.
Interesting. And as a leader, what is the philosophy that you buy into? Because primarily you've mentioned that you've done everything through, you've been through it all. What's the philosophy that you lead through your leadership?
Two things, consistency and discipline. I think I've come to believe, you know, that drives your luck. You have to show up every day. You have to love what you do, and then you have to be disciplined because often as entrepreneurs, you start something, you know, 6 months in, a year in, it's not working out. You've jumped out. You know, you are one. You know, you become a farmer. Then next, not working out, or it works out, and then you start putting all your money into matatu, and then what you're doing now is actually you're being distracted.
You're pruning yourself out.
You'll never be a pro in. You have to choose to be a pro in one thing, and for you to be a pro in that thing, you actually have to wake up and put time and effort, and you have to be consistent and disciplined. That way, then you become the best you can be. So you have to be rooted in that principle that, you know, whatever you promise, actually, you better undersell and then over-deliver, as opposed to the flip of that. But also, we've seen entrepreneurs who get distracted, right? You start a technology business, it does quite okay, you get some money extra, you go into matatu business, you have no idea what matatu industry works. We start farming by M-Pesa, you're losing money left, right, and so what happens is moving money from this pot to put it in other pots, and these other pots may not necessarily grow. So always say, you know, focus on what you really love. Try to be the greatest you can be in that space. Kipchoge doesn't wake up today and decide to run 100 meters. He knows his strength is marathon. He wakes up and runs and prepares for marathon. Michael Jordan did not wake up and decide, I can play rugby. I'm a big guy. I can also do rugby, focus on basketball from, you know, from his early years and became the greatest he could be. So I think that discipline and that consistency is important for any entrepreneur, really, for you to thrive. Yeah.
Interesting. Your journey into setting up Belva was, I think, because I think you've had so much interaction, just came to be. I don't know. I don't know if you can say it's luck or maybe probably what's it called, circumstances through life.
Yeah.
But I want you just to take me back in terms of what did you study in university?
Computer science.
Yes, and then how did you end up how did you end up into digital? Maybe just take me through the earlier years.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened was, luckily, when we were finishing university, Google had come to Kenya and they set up office and they were looking for interns rather. So I applied and luckily I got in. However, the role was marketing led, because in Africa or in Kenya specifically, the office was for marketing purposes, interacting with customers. But however, growing up, I've always wanted to be front facing, not necessarily a techie sitting in a dark room churning out great technologies, but I always prefer to be intersect of tech and people, just trying to see the impact technology has on people. So I felt this was an opportunity for me to appreciate what the internet ecosystem is. So I got immersed in that space. This is it's about 11, 12 years ago. There were about 2 million Kenyans online at that stage.
Oh, things have changed,
So a lot has changed, right? There was no Instagram.
Yes.
A lot of the platforms we're interacting with today.
No TikTok.
YouTube was in its infancy. Facebook was 2-3 years old as well. So technology or internet ecosystem was really in its infancy. We had just had the first smartphone in Kenya.
Oh yeah, the Ideas.
Yeah.
It depends on where you're from.
Exactly, right? So there was a lot of excitement. And being there to see, to be at that opportunity, at the opportunistic stage of, helping businesses appreciate the internet, understand how it can help them, reach the consumers, and how consumers can interact with businesses in a two-way manner. Because for the longest, marketing was a one-way. So, you put up money on TV, put it on radio, put it on print, and hope that it works out.
Yes.
But finally, the internet allows you actually to have a conversation with customers, set up your channels on Facebook, Twitter, etc., build communities, allow to do your customer support, in a more interactive, immersive way. So I got into that stage and really got to appreciate, what Google has. And again, this is it's a huge organization. Offering a lot of interesting products, from Google search to YouTube. And the model is interesting, right? Like a lot of us don't pay anything to Google.
True.
Right? But Google makes money out of attention, right? So we start understanding what it means to monetize attention, right? Because we live in an attention economy. What has happened over the years is now there's an influx of information. Information is not a problem. Attention is the problem, because now you have the same amount of time. There's a humongous amount of information that is out there. You have to choose what to pay attention to. Right? So just being in that space to understand that concept and how data is helping organizations transform themselves and grow. So I did that, and then I transitioned to IBM, where I held a sales role. Again, a shift from digital, marketing to sales, and primarily because I knew I always wanted to go in business. So when the opportunity came to go into sales, because it's something I had not done really, I think I took it because I wanted to be prepared for my life in business as well. So which again is a big organization. We were handling the software business. Again, got to appreciate the East Africa region and the focus they had. And then in late 2012, left formal employment and started doing sort of planning to go into business.
How did you come to that particular decision? Because I know you're here working for Google. Everybody literally yearns for that particular opportunity. IBM's come into place. Everybody yearns for that particular opportunity. But you decided to take that particular plunge. Why was it?
I think I'm a restless guy. I like problems. I think there's a meme that is out there.
I love problems.
I like challenges. I like to be in a situation where every day I wake up. And
there's a problem to solve.
There's a problem that needs to be addressed and solved. And I mean, from a business perspective, obviously. So I was yearning to go back to the ecosystem that I had experienced from the Google side. But also because I noticed there were no agencies really that were taking advantage of this opportunity. There were a few that had been set up, a few agencies that had been set up locally. But we're not really at that scale where I felt we could be, and I felt this is the right time to actually set up a digital agency because opportunity is right. Again, it's always business is about opportunity and time. Is it the right time to get into it? Here's opportunity. Do you understand the opportunity? What is the cost of entry? The beautiful thing is it's not a high cost of entry. So I felt this is the opportune time. And if I stayed on in employment, I'll get too comfortable to actually want to do these things. And I always say it's easier to do business when you're younger.
True.
When you're a single man, because I'm not married then, and have kids, so you have less.
You have no chance to kid around.
Yeah. Because obligations kill the spirit of entrepreneurship, right? Because every day you have to think, who's going to pay the rent, the school fees, and the mortgage, and all these things that maybe you have responsibilities for. So so I plunged myself into that space. And also I felt if it doesn't work out, I think I'm still employable.
You can still go back.
And say I'm G jokes and go back into the play. But so far it's turned out all right. Yeah.
Interesting. What were the earlier years like for Belva? Because I know everybody sees the success that Fred is at this particular point. You've done this particular business to this particular level. But what are some of how are the earlier years like?
It was a bit tough. Initially, it was fairly okay because fortunately, my first client was Google. Right.
Interesting.
So I went back to, because I always say your network is your net worth. Right? Like it's become almost cliche, but it's a really key part of business. Like every person you meet with, you have to be intentional about building that relationship. So for my previous bosses, I went back to them and told them, look, I've left employment. I'm getting into this space. So fortunately, Google was running a program to support media houses. With understanding YouTube and Google Plus, because again Google Plus was new. You might remember it.
Yes, I remember it.
And then I became a consultant working with media houses. That's when I started heavily interacting with the Standard Group, the Nation Media Group, and the K24 and so on, just to help them to curate the content, monetize it, and so on. So I was quite engaged for a period of time, and that was in the run-up to the election we had.
Oh yeah, that's 2013.
In 2013. That then, that kept me going. But then post the election, you may remember, there was a lot of uncertainty around our new president then, the ICC case and all those things. The foreign investment was, not as much, and that usually a key driver for the economy, right? Because private sector, government also was not as liquid, because again, so it was a bit slow. So I remember at some point I had to let go my first 2 employees.
You're already employed?
At some point I brought in 2 people, right? Because there was work and they needed extra hands. And it was unfortunate, but I had to sit down with them and let them know I'm unable to actually, meet your expectations. And that was a bit of a moment to actually reflect as well, whether I'm, are we on the right track? Are we doing the right things? And there are those moments in business where you actually doubt yourself as well. It's not always that you're going to be headstrong and committed. There are days you'll question your commitment to it and actually your vision and plans. But I'm grateful. I've always surrounded myself with advisors and mentors. So one of my initial mentors was Professor Ndemo, the current professor. He was a doctor then.
Now he's an ambassador.
Now he's an ambassador. He's held many titles. So we had met previously when he was in government. That time he had actually also left government. But he kept the commitment, and as we all know, he's the father of internet in this country. So he gave me a space in his office, sublet it to me, not free, obviously. Always encourage people to pay the bills. It's a good discipline. So he gave me a space. And we would often interact a lot and give guidance, and there are doors you could open for me. And that I've grown on to stay as close as possible to people like him. That pivotal to your business. I think business it's like a child. You need a community to grow it. It's not, sometimes business people we don't know how to ask for help. And we always try to figure stuff by ourselves. So I've always advised that it's good to lean on people. It's good to have a sounding board. Is it the right decision you're about to make? And hear other people. And interestingly, a lot of people out here are very experienced and happy to share their expertise and knowledge. And I'm sure even content like this that we're creating, hopefully can help.
A lot of people. So the earlier years were really just facing some of the different particular tides that came your way. But for Belva, at what particular point did you feel now, like the dream and the vision that I had starting to work? After how many years did you now start to feel like the tides are starting to change? From being a subletter, from letting...
I think 2 years in. I always say the first 2 years are survival mode. You'll have contracts come and some go, and you'll have staff come in and some you can't maintain.
Yeah.
But 2 years in, I think by 2015, at that point I felt very confident that now finally the work we've done in the last 2 years, and previously in my employment career, are starting, the fruits are starting to come out, come to bear. And it's the usual cycle of businesses, really. I would say a lot of businesses close in the first 2 years, obviously because of the challenges you're going to face. When you need to make a lot of decisions, you need to invest in something, some may not work out, some will work out. But in 2 years, we were able to actually turn around. We got some decent contracts. I always say the one that probably allowed us to, because big contracts attract each other.
Yes.
I always say the same thing. They say spend money to attract money.
Yes.
So we signed Microsoft. I think that was a pivotal contract for us. We signed L'Oreal East Africa. We signed Maidawa around the same period. And these sizable contracts really allowed us then to hire more confidently. To move to a bigger space as well.
Oh yeah, from the sublet.
From that room in the basement, Prof had given to us. So yeah, at that point I really felt, and also importantly we refined our story. Initially we were just a marketing digital agency doing a lot of training and support to organizations and small businesses. But we refocused ourselves to a performance marketing agency. And performance is essentially turning marketing into a revenue center or a growth center.
So how do you do that?
Because again, just to take you back pre-internet, marketing was often a cost center.
True.
Every business would say, okay, marketing, you want 10 million, here's 10 million. You do a splash and pray. You do a TV radio, works out, doesn't work out. You probably would never know what works. Now with digital, you could actually measure. If you put 1 million on Google, you can actually see how many people came to your website, how many people did convert, how many people did not convert. And those who did not convert, you can then still re-engage them. You can collect information about their phone numbers and their email. You can do email marketing and SMS targeting. So just understanding that concept of everything is measurable, and marketing can actually drive growth, because then you're able to know if you put this.
Oh, this is the return on investment,
around the same period, a lot of banks were launching their mobile apps. Yes.
It was the apps just recently.
Right,
it feels like a long time ago.
It feels like a long time, because we're used to that, right? And the first thing they wanted is downloads. And the beautiful thing with digital marketing and performance marketing is you can actually pay per download, as opposed to spending a 10 million and hoping you get downloads. So here you can actually we're giving clients guarantees that you'll actually, if you want 100,000 downloads, here's the cost. Just pay this, you'll exactly get the numbers you've asked for. So it removes the guesswork, it removes the experimentation, it just allows you to actually get the results to drive. So when we started talking a lot about performance marketing, it allowed us to attract this contract that we spoke about earlier. We got a lot into the banking space as well, just again, because of the opportunity to help banks to not just get downloads, but actually get users to experience the product, pay their bills and so on. And we started getting now fintech accounts, and even started doing work outside Kenya, because again, the beautiful thing about the internet is you can do a lot from, it's not physically limiting. You can actually do a lot of work from your station.
Interesting. And probably just because it's very interesting that it just took 2 years for you to attract some of these particular accounts. Besides specializing in performance, performance marketing, what do you think was also key? Because it takes you're literally in an industry whereby it's dominated by multinationals and the competition is quite high.
Yes.
How exactly were you able to do this within 2 years?
Culture also, I think we've always been big on culture. We are people business. The first thing is we are a people first business. We have to attract talent, because this work has to be done by people. At that stage, obviously, you're not probably able to pay as competitively as the multinationals you've referred to. But people actually, and this generation now, we've seen the generation Z and partly the millennials, the culture is a big driver for where they want to work. So we provided an environment where they felt they can actually come in as interns and grow. And fortunately, I'd worked for American companies, and Google especially is big on culture. Right? Just being able to allow people to thrive in their spaces. That way, we're able to attract people. And I always say the concept of people is you have 24 hours, right? There's nothing can change, you can't add or remove. By bringing 10 people, you've got 240 hours in a day. So you've got more hands, you've got more time, you can actually get more work done. So I would say people was a key driver. Secondly was our partnership. So we were one of the few Google partners. Again, to expound that is Google has a partnership program where because Google cannot serve all the clients directly. It works with agency partners. So remember, we were only 3 agency partners at that time.
So it was very strategic.
So it's a card we kept throwing around, like we had.
I'm not just Belva, Google,
right? And they would even call Google office, say, who can we work with? And say, here are our partners, right? And one of them was a multinational, and the other one was a mid-sized agency, and we were relatively a small agency. And obviously, we were quite more affordable too, because then our costs are manageable. At that time, I couldn't even wear the CEO suit or the cheerleader suit. As I think I used to call myself the strategy lead, and I was still playing different roles, obviously, because we've not managed to hire everyone.
Interesting.
So I'd say those are things that really allowed us to
scale up,
to attract relatively big accounts, and to be able to then use that as our growth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to take a short commercial break, and then we're going to find out how this particular metamorphosis to the big Belva that you know right now came to be. So I'll see you after the break. So welcome back to the show. So before we went on a break, Fred was just taking us through the journey of Belva from the beginning to the point 2 years on, whereby you're attracting big particular accounts. 10 years on, you've been at it, and the business always keeps on growing and morphing into different particular avenues. So Belva was initially, what's it called, performance-based, right?
Correct.
So you're mentioning to me now you're moving to Matic, which in Luo sounds like it's very difficult, but maybe you could just expound to me in terms of this particular morphosis that Belva is going through, and why exactly is it going through that?
Right. Thank you, Ian. So 2 things have driven this metamorphosis, or what we're calling a transformation. One is we are living in a very rapidly evolving space, right?
Because technology is changing so fast.
It's changing too fast, right?
Google Plus was here, it went.
Right. So AI has become a big conversation space this year, especially, right? And a lot of organizations, businesses are trying to figure out, how do I leverage AI? We saw recently, Apple launch VR, virtual reality device. Facebook is investing a lot on Oculus. They even had to position themselves not just as a social media platform, as a technology company, Meta now. So for us, our evolution is driven by first the evolving space that we're sitting in. And secondly, what we call the attention economy, where attention become a very scarce commodity, and also a currency, because a lot of the products you pay for today, you pay for them in attention. True. Right? So on YouTube, it's free for you, but your attention, if you don't skip that button, you're actually paying. An advertiser is paying for that attention. True. Right? So we're sitting to help brands understand what this attention economy means and how they can then monetize this scarce thing, because again, we have less time, or rather, there's a lot of fragmentation. Yeah, exactly right. There's a lot of fragmentation. You have so many options on the table. As a user, you've seen so many ads, so many brands, so many products on the shelf, and everyone is trying to get your attention to sell to you. So how do we win that? And for us to achieve these 2 things, make sure that we are in tandem with the evolving space, and we are helping our clients understand the attention economy. We're repositioning ourselves as a marketing technology company. So we're working at the intersect of marketing and tech, which is what we're calling MarTech. MarTech, right? Yes. So it's been a term that's been around for a minute, to help clients grow, right? So again, evolving from just a performance agency to a growth company. So performance is heavy around, app downloads, the campaigns, leads, so being able to measure that. But then we want to go beyond that to actually helping you as a business retain, for example, your customers, or attract the right quality of customers, or be able to deal with what we call churn, where your customers are coming and leaving as soon as they probably download your app or get your website. So we are not sitting just at the intersect of just attracting you, getting your customers to get your websites or application, by being able to understand how you as a business are going to grow from that. So it's more towards growth, and working at the intersect of marketing and technology to achieve that. So we are also building products. We're sitting with clients to understand their needs and saying, this is a problem with your mobile app. This is an experience issue you're having on your mobile app. This is a friction that users are experiencing. And this is what we recommend to be able to change that. Or we're sitting in company and say, we need to co-create something that can allow you to be ready for this future. Again, we've seen media houses, for example, just to give context, seek out ways and to monetize content.
Yeah.
And we've had to sit down and create what we call a video on demand platform, but not the typical Netflix, drag and drop, but being able to understand in the context of the Kenyan consumer, not just the urban consumer, but also the consumer who is somewhere with a smartphone in the village. They have limited data, so they have a limited space with phone with space. So you have to think a lot about that user experience and how then you can help this client monetize the attention they have on these platforms that they're getting. So we also creating our own product. Just to help, again, one of the pillars for growth is SMEs. We, key driver in the economy, about 7 million MSMEs in Kenya only, right? They employ the majority, they contribute the majority to our growth, but often they're underserved.
True.
Right? Because they may not be able to afford the agency rate card. But they can afford a freelancer here, they can afford to pay 20,000 a year for a logo, 40,000 a year for a website. So what we've created is a marketplace where we're connecting SMEs with freelancers in the digital space. But not just connecting them, is sitting at the intersect as a project manager to make sure that the SME understand what they're asking for, and the freelancer is able to deliver on what's on the scope as well. Because an SME will walk to you and say, I want a website, but they don't even have the content.
True.
Yeah, they've not thought about what is going to the product page or the about us page, the home page. They probably may not have a logo, or they have a logo that it's not in the right format, right? So we have to help the SMEs understand what really they're trying to, and then allow them to leverage digital and this skill set that is out here, that is the gig economy that is, to be able to grow, because that's really, again, we've grown from 2 million, 3 million Kenyans online then to about 25 million now.
Right now,
right?
yes,
so
most cases are online.
That's a significant growth.
True.
And as the shift grows, as more people get online, then every business has to leverage that space to be able to grow. But also we have a problem with unemployment, right?
Because I have so many people educated.
You have so many educated, but we cannot employ all of them, right? So with the marketplace, we are hoping to give the youth, decent work opportunities by being able to connect. And obviously, we are carrying our 10-year experience to be able to help both parties, all this, the SME and the freelancers, to thrive in this space.
Interesting. So one of the different, the prediction of the future that's going on right now is that future companies are supposed to be technology companies, and also they need to harness data in order for them to be able to explore the opportunities that come about. Exactly. So primarily for any business owner and entrepreneur watching this, what are some of the technology aspects of a business that's currently in this particular situation, and probably the future that's going to be AI and the new technologies that are coming into place that they need to invest into their business? What are some of the technologies that businesses need to be put into their business?
Obviously technology can be a scary thing too.
True,
right? Like every day there's always something new, and then as a business leader you're caught up in a conundrum where you're like,
what exactly am I supposed to do?
How many times am I supposed to keep up with? You probably just learned Matech today, and I have to learn about or Matech, as you say, as our brothers from the seaside may say. So the biggest one we've seen and we continue to see is AI, artificial intelligence. And what AI is doing is it's creating efficiencies in every space. Efficiencies that you don't have to do the basic work. If Ian today wakes up and he wants to know to write a press release, he's launched a new business. Ian doesn't need to start from scratch.
True.
He could go to the AI and say, right, give me a press release about this business launching in Nairobi. And AI will be able to give you a draft where you can start from, and they'll be able to create, edit it out and quickly get that done. So a lot of rudimentary work. Again, we give the example of content. You want a website. As a business, are you going to sit and start creating content, which will take days or weeks even to write the content down? But with AI, minutes, it can actually give you content. Proofread it, is it good enough, edit a bit here, and then you actually go live. So AI is going to create efficiencies in every space, not just in our space of marketing and tech, but literally in every space. We've seen in farming where we saw, I believe it was in Kericho, where laborers were burning down the tea harvesting machines. That is AI, because this system has been taught what to pick. And because as human beings, we cannot really, our purpose is not to do the most basic rudimentary work. We are evolving as human beings. We are supposed to stay at the cutting edge of technology. We will suppose, ideally, those laborers should then be able to do more progressive things with their days,
True.
as opposed to carrying a basket in your bag and plucking.
Yeah.
You know, that's really basic work. That, you know, it should be embarrassing that years on, there are
still
people who
doing
actually
that, yeah.
want to do that. You know, wake up to do that in the day. To give you context, the first when we had the steam engines, you know, they used to run on coal.
Yes.
And the trains, they used to have laborers whose job was actually to put coal.
Yes.
In the train. When the first electric train was set up in the late 19th century, they actually burned it down because they felt they're going to lose their jobs of putting coal in the steam. You know, again, that's very basic. Obviously, eventually they lost that battle. We saw the same thing when Uber came here.
Yeah.
The taxi drivers were resisting it.
Yes.
You know, eventually they lost that battle. So I think it's not for us as human beings to fight technology, really. It's to leverage technology as businesses. And the technology will evolve. AI will evolve into, I know we are, you know, saying it's still in its infancy, but we're expecting a lot more to happen in the coming years. Self-driving cars, self-flying planes, and you'll be surprised, you know, it's quite surprising that 100 years ago we didn't have a plane, right?
True, yeah, really, yeah.
But now it sounds
then
like
the right
something we should be.
things right.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Now it's a common thing, yes. Yeah.
And one of the things that you've been able to, start the business from scratch in a corner to getting to a point you have more than 55 employees within the business and able to grow your revenues. So primarily being at the steering wheel of this particular vision, what are some of the lessons that you've learned out of your journey that have enabled you to get to where you are, whereby you've scaled from just being the only person running the business to having a team and having sufficient revenues for the business to sustain itself? What are some of the lessons you've learned from this?
So a couple. One is, you know, opportunity. Always, you know, look out for the right opportunities in your space. And as a business, you can never be static. Yeah. You have to seek to consistently evolve to meet the expectations of your client. If you remain too static, obviously, you know, we've seen the Nokias and Blackberries, you know, go away and other players come into the play. So we've noticed our opportunities in our spaces and we're leveraging those as well. The other lesson is we often build barriers around Africa. That Africa is, you know, this segmented, you know, the colonial boundaries, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that limits you limits us as entrepreneurs and business people. However, if you unlock that and see Africa as a huge opportunity of 1 billion people, then it's easier to be able to say, to take what you build here in Kenya and take it to other markets, because that way then you can scale. That allows you to have a bit more, distribute your risk. So if, you know, God forbid things are slow in Kenya, you have an opportunity somewhere else where you are still earning revenue. And that allows us then to really take what we built, and because Kenya is quite progressive country from a technology perspective, and we have a lot of solutions that could actually be deployed in different markets and grow. And then the third has always been consistent reminder that we're in a people business. We have to take care of our people. We have to find ways to consistently grow talent. I think we saw a phase where all these multinationals came into the market, and there was a talent war, and, you know, prices went off the roof. Those happen, and sometimes it sort of disadvantages us as, you know, mid-tier businesses may not be able to afford the rate card of the bigger multinationals. But it's being able to, I think, create a pipeline of talent. So within the team we have 55, we have, you know, people who are coming as attachés, they're still in campus, people who are internships, so in different levels. So that allows us really to ensure that we create almost like buffer and enough resources to ensure that at no point will the ball drop, you know, because, you know, somebody's unwell or somebody's left the company. But also appreciating that people will outgrow you.
Interesting.
As businesses, sometimes we get frustrated when our best at people or at a talent, you know, opt to exit. I think it's okay to normalize that there are opportunities. They might be able to be attracted by different opportunities. They might choose a different path. As human beings, that happens a lot. I think just being aware those could happen, but of creating, you know, those buffers, ensure you have a good pipeline of people. So that then, you know, your business doesn't get frustrated, because you even as a founder, you have to grow the business.
True.
The biggest problem we have is when you become the business. And Fred he has to be in the meeting for anything to happen. Fred has to be in the office for anything to happen. Fred approves everything. Then you become the problem, you know, because then you cannot grow. A business has to outgrow you. So those are things that, you know, I think it's obviously a growing space. I'm still in my first decade. But yeah, it's a learning.
Interesting. You mentioned about the what's it called, having presence across different particular African countries, and I know
Right.
there's a conversation about the Africa-Free Continental Trade Area
Yeah.
that's coming into place. Which particular markets are you presently in, and how did you manage to get into these particular different markets? Because I know for most entrepreneurs, you're always geo-locked. I started the business in Kenya. Kenya is all that I know, and that's all that I've embraced. But you've managed to spread your wings out there.
Yes.
Just which particular, why is your presence, and how exactly did this come to be?
Right. So again, every 2-3 years I sit down and sort of just look at the vision. Why are we on this? So we've got our 2025 plan, and that.
Also, how long are usually your strategic plans?
So 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, so you change your plans every 2 years?
Every 2 years, every year actually. Almost every quarter we review. It may not be a significant change, but we review our plans on an ongoing basis. Our 2025 plan, and in our 2025 plan is to ensure we have a strong presence in all the blocks. We've sort of broken Africa into the West Africa block, the East Africa block, and the Southern block as well. The West Africa for us is Nigeria, Ghana. Those are key markets we mapped, and Ivory Coast and Senegal. So we've got the French side, we've got the English-speaking side. And the East Africa, obviously, Kenya, Ethiopia, DRC. Though we're paying extra attention to that. Uganda, of course, as well. Then going south to SA, Zambia, Angola and Mozambique, which is also Portuguese speaking. So the unfortunate thing is Africa is literally the Tower of Babel, right? Every country has its own currency. Sometimes, culture is different in every country, even our neighbors across. Tax laws, everything is different. That's why it's quite exciting to have this conversation about after, and hopefully it gets implemented. So, but as we work on that, our model is more around partnerships, because we realize we cannot incorporate in every country. So we have countries where we fully incorporated, but we only incorporate if the opportunity is sizable. If we assess the opportunity and we've got a decent number of clients, we incorporate there. However, if it's a project-based, for example, we're doing some work in Mozambique, it's Portuguese-speaking, it may not be recurrent. We have a project there we're doing, so we work with a partner there that is already based there, but we also seek as much as possible to get most of the contracts signed from Kenya or Nairobi, where is our hub. That allows us payments and tax compliance to be relatively easier. But what also we've done there is also incorporate in US, in Wyoming. It's a state that allows you to incorporate remotely as well, and you don't pay taxes for income not earned. So because our income is being earned outside that state, we don't necessarily pay taxes for that money. However, there are annual fees you pay to just maintain the entity but it's a very manageable cost as well. So in some of these countries where we are, we ask our clients to pay us, to our, the US entity. That also allows us to be able to avoid the currency fluctuations that we have in most of the African countries as well. So we have about 22 markets where we actually done work in. We have key markets, as mentioned, that we are focusing on, that we intend by 2025 to be physically present, either directly or as partners with strong partners. So basically the big economies we are paying attention to.
Interesting. And how are you able to keep a hold of all these particular new markets, the markets that you're in? 22 markets. What's it called? The team is majorly being run in Nairobi. How are you able to keep a hold of all this?
So it can get crazy. So sometimes obviously it's a bit of traveling, but you have your key markets, but also you have people. I think as mentioned earlier, you have to trust your people to do some work. So you have markets that have delegated to certain people within the business leadership teams who are taking care of that market, and they do most of the travel, and the clients managing them. But we've been fortunate that what we've had is opportunities in Kenya that have allowed us to do work outside. We have a media company that we've signed that is based in Kenya, but we're doing work for them in Senegal, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Seychelles even. We've done work in Somaliland.
Somali?
Yeah,
Somaliland.
Somaliland.
The Somali, the Somaliland.
Yeah, so it's a self-declared state in the north of Somalia. So we've had opportunities from Nairobi, and again, because Nairobi is a big hub for Africa. So as being based here and being positioning ourselves as Market Africa has allowed us then to get these opportunities without necessarily having to actually to go to that market and then start knocking doors. What we do is we seek opportunities, and then that's when we set up. Again, the beauty of our business is we are not necessarily have a regulator.
Oh, yes.
So we don't need to have brick and mortar in every market.
Yes.
So we've got companies that allow you to have virtual offices. So we use that model that allows us, gives us more flexibility. Most of our teams outside Kenya work remotely. But we have we set up virtual offices in most of these countries just for purposes of having an address as well. So yeah, that model is lean enough, allows us to not to get too crazy, but also delegate. I think as entrepreneurs, we are not very strong people in delegating. I always say, hire people, but then don't hire them and then do their work.
Yes. They hire them, they have to do their work.
Yeah, and trust people to actually do their work. So big on just getting the right people, enabling them, and then letting them actually own some of this responsibility, so that then you can actually scale because you have limited time, right?
True.
Yeah.
Interesting. So before we get to wind up the show, because I know there's so much to speak, I have some quick fire questions. So I have 10 questions. Answer the first thing that comes to your mind.
Sure.
How long does it take for you to get ready?
A day.
To get ready?
Yeah. To get ready in the morning.
Yes, I'm wondering. When do you push your I can't see makeup.
No, I was business ready. I was thinking business ready. So. Do you want to try again?
No, we continue. How long?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. At what age do you want to retire?
45.
Do you ever have, what does a person need to be happy?
A wife.
Not Wi-Fi? Anyway, what's been your best age?
30s.
How many pull-ups can you do in a row?
20.
How many hours of sleep do you need?
6.
Name a word that starts with the letter Q.
Quencha.
Climb a mountain or jump from a plane?
Jump from a plane.
Interesting. Maybe just as we wind up, maybe just the few words. Where's the future of Belva?
The future of Belva is a Pan-African marketing technology company, helping brands to grow in Africa. So that's the future we're working towards. We're looking to probably list in Nairobi as well. That's now the 2030 plan. Yeah. So we've got the 2025, I shared with you earlier. Yeah. 2030 plan is to list here. We're proud about Kenya, I think. It's been where we've grown. It's where we have a strong client base and network. We intend to list here. Good to see that a few media and marketing businesses that have listed, at least in the last couple of days. We saw Homeboys the other day. So that's at least it's prepping the market. So we hope by probably not by 2030 actually. So before 2030.
You'll have listed.
We'll have listed. We intend to cross-list as well in the London stock market, LSE, and the New York as well, obviously to tap into the global. Because we focused on Africa, but we want to attract global brands to grow here as well. Because we expect that Africa is going to be the next biggest frontier, if it's not already, with a much growing consumer and and a growing population and income. And so obviously these things will attract brands from everywhere in the world. So that's a plan. So if that works out, I should retire in 45. So
that's very interesting.
Going to jumping off the planes,
So thanks so much, Fred, for having come, and I'm wishing you all the best country to buy shares when you guys eventually get to list. So you can check out Belva Digital. Now it's Belva Group. They're always online offering solutions across Africa. Thanks so much for having watched the show. Hope you've learned a thing or two from my conversation on how exactly to build your business from a local startup to a Pan-African business and eventually a global business. We are definitely here at the Capital Club, the place you need to be as an entrepreneur. And with being a part of the Capital Club, you get access to so many different particular individuals globally. People can actually improve on your particular network, and also besides some of the facilities that are actually here, including meeting rooms, spaces, the spa, the gym. There's so much right here. My name is Ian Dennis. This has been the Late Night Business. Until next time, see you right here.